welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I am your co-host, Mike Allen. As always, I'm joined by...
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at some Spidey comics from February of 1987.
That's right, and thankfully we have Bex Luthor with us this week. Thanks for joining us, Bex Luthor.
Sorry, I missed last week. There was too many frogs, and I would have just cried the whole time, so...
Understandable.
I had to sit it out.
We've all been through that before. We know exactly what you're talking about. And
too many frogs.
And also returning this week, return guest Andrew Helmer. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
AKA Barry, right?
Tis I, yes.
Yes.
For some reason, I also go by Barry.
Is there,
For some reason.
is there a secret origin to that? Oh, there you go. For those that are only listening, there's a cat in our podcast video now. We're looking at a cat.
She's so small.
She is so small. She is very, very tiny. She's 10 days. Sorry, I've had her for a week. I was gonna say she's not 10 days old.
She's bigger than 10
she's
days.
5 months old.
Okay.
So not only have I not had her for 10 days, but she's not 10 days old. So I don't know why I said 10 days.
Understandable.
So cute, you got distracted.
Actually, yeah. It happens a lot.
So that was the highlight of this episode. It's all downhill from here as we
Nobody gets to see it.
As we review Spider-Man comics from 1987. For those new listeners, let me just remind everybody we're reviewing every single Spider-Man comic from the 1980s. This is my era when I was growing up. I was picking and choosing Spider-Man comics, and at around 1989, 1990, I went back and found all these back issues, and I read them all, and I thought they were all God's gift to, Earth. And then I reread them many, 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 many times, and with each subsequent reread, they lost a little bit of the luster. And this is the latest reread, and we are reviewing them now for your sake. And with Web of Spider-Man number 23, Andrew is going to tell us a quick summary of what happened, right, Andrew?
I'm doing Web. Yes?
Web. Yes. Web of Spider-Man 23 from February 1987.
All right. So we did Web of Spider-Man 23. So in this issue, Peter is basically, it opens up with Peter on his way back from England. He was there with Joy Mercado, who was a brief fixture at the are they at the Bugle while they're doing this, or are they at Now magazine?
That's a good question.
It's kind of both. Like it seems like Now magazine is like an off branch of the Daily Bugle, because I think it's in the same building. It's just like a different office floor. So
it's like next to it.
So yeah. I'm trying to fill in the blanks from the fact that I read one issue every since like the
4 months,
8 weeks since I last did an episode of this. So I was like trying to figure out where he was. They were over in England last issue, and apparently Spider-Man just so happened to show up in England as well, and Joey Mercado is not happy with Peter Parker that he does not take his job serious. He's just coasting because of his arrangement with Spider-Man, because that's the only way that any of this could be explained, because obviously, Peter Parker's going over, Spider-Man's flying over too. That's it. So she's trying to voice his displeasure with him, but she's like, we're on a plane. Let's not have this conversation right now. And Peter's like, screw that. And he barges into the airplane bathroom, like a complete creep.
Yeah.
And then she kind of levels with him this is what I'm talking about. This thing that you just did where you barged into the bathroom. This is why I don't think you take your job seriously. When they get back to New York City, we get to encounter Slide.
Yeah.
Slide with a Y, who I was lucky enough to know who he was, so I got pretty excited when he showed up. Now Slide is a villain. I don't know if this is his first appearance in Web, but he's just a criminal who just basically greases himself up with off-brand Teflon spray, and he like slides through things. And
Okay.
yeah, it is. He is a scientist who, again, just created an off-brand Teflon spray. The company he was with fired him because the company was run by the mob. So he decided just to become a supervillain. Although he does seem to think that he's some form of Robin Hood-like character. What else happens in this issue? Oh, well, Peter is really upset that Joy is, basically telling him things that are absolutely true. And he doesn't like hearing bad things about himself. So the first thing he does is he goes to Aunt May, and he knows that if he brings food, Aunt May will shower him with affection. So so that's what he does. What else? Peter Parker is, the world's worst boyfriend, forgot to get Mary Jane anything on his big trip. I don't know if they're dating at this time. They're just entangled. So he forgot to get her something. So he just goes to the mall and buys her like mall chocolates. And then they, while he's fighting Slide, they melt.
Right,
And,
right.
that Parker luck strikes again. What else? Aunt May asks him to go to Atlantic City with her, so that's clearly setting up another issue with a bunch of gambling puns. And coincidentally, the Vulture is also in Atlantic City.
Yeah, a very awkward cliffhanger, but whatever.
It was really awkward because it was just like, it's one of those great, like, it's just two nobody characters get like a whole page to themselves, and they're just making out in Atlantic City, and then they're like, who's that? And it's just the Vulture.
Well, and I love how the girl says what any girl would say if they saw an old elderly man flying over with artificial wings. She says, I saw something inhuman, like some kind of monstrous bird of prey hunting.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway,
that.
Let's just say quickly, this issue was plotted by regular web writer David Michelinie, but it was written by Len Kaminski, who I think has written a couple in the last few episodes that we've reviewed. Drawn by Jim Fern, inked by Vince Colletta. So not quite a fill-in, but it's getting there. We're continuing a story that's been going on for a while, but we're now going in a different direction. We're retreating a villain that was introduced in Amazing a few months ago. Kind of a typical issue of any Spider-Man comic. Not really the direction that Webb was trying to go in with like realistic plots and darker plots. That was the new direction started like a few months ago. So I thought this issue was kind of average, but Andrew, you're our guest this week, so I want to hear your thoughts. What did you think about this issue overall?
I mean, out of the three of them, I enjoyed it the most, mostly because I found at the very least, it was the tightest plot. Like, it didn't have, it literally, it knew it had 22 pages. So it's like, okay, Parker's dealing with Joy Mercado, Aunt May, Teflon Slide. And that's it, right? It wasn't trying to like sprinkle a bunch of other stuff through it. I liked the art, but yeah, it was, it was kind of, it was clearly a fill-in issue in that,
Right.
like, it was like, this is not, if you had missed this issue, you had not missed a thing.
Good point. Joshua Mervell, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree. It was a pretty like solid story. Everything made sense. I liked everything that happened. I love the interaction between Joy and Peter at the beginning. Like, that's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
like it's kind of funny, but also at the same time, I'm like, Joy, we know that you know. It's
Right,
so
right.
weird now that all of a sudden she's like, you're partnered with Spider-Man, aren't you? It's like, no, you already had it figured out. We like you practically said that you knew he was Spider-Man, and it's just kind of like yanked from us. So that's kind of disappointing. I would have liked to have like I know that there are a lot of characters now that like know he's Spider-Man, especially at this time. We're gonna talk later about how in Peter Parker that both Felicia and MJ know that he's Spider-Man. So like it would kind of add another thing, but I feel like this is like the one character that makes sense, would figure it out. Like she's a journalist. They're working closely together, going out of the country together. Like I feel like that would actually add some real conflict because it's both somebody personally that he knows, but also it's kind of a little bit more dangerous because it's like, is she gonna blab about this? Like it's kind of her job to do this, right? And to like report on the news. So like yeah, it was kind of a bummer that was kind of ripped from us from the beginning. But Slide is like a ridiculous, campy, D-list Spidey villain. And he's super fun. I love that he's kind of like this misunderstood bad guy. Like he's a bad guy to get back at the man, like I was a scientist developing this non-stick technology until I found out that the pan company was working for the mafia. It's just like absolutely insane.
Right.
But yeah, I had some fun reading this comics. It's
Awesome.
Yeah.
Bex Luthor, what do you think?
I can't believe Joy doesn't know. I can't believe they're not letting her know.
Right.
It's literally her job, and they've already showcased that she's a good reporter. Like she shoves her nose into everything. There's no way she doesn't know. It's so frustrating.
She's not Lois Lane.
But still, they literally this whole like arc in England was like Joy Mercado like steps in front of a gun to get a story. Like but and then Peter's in England. Oh, Spider-Man's in England. Oh, Peter's in Ireland. Spider-Man's in Ireland. What a coincidence. No.
I can't believe this deal you guys have, right? Like, come on.
Like, yeah, that's what it is. It's a deal that he has with Spider-Man. Like,
yeah.
I wish writers would just figure out a way to completely avoid these types of situations. Like, obviously, that would mean they could never travel, but it just raises way too many questions, right?
Yeah.
So
it feels like a cheap way to add like suspense.
Yes, good
because
point.
they know that they're just gonna brush it under the rug when this whole arc is over, like it never happened.
It's funny. It's funny to think about even bringing that up because I was like, oh, and they did that in the last Spider-Man movie, and then I was like, but they attempted to not have him be Spider-Man. They were like, Spider-Man's not over in Europe. You have to come up with a new one. Like, so somebody at least finally did something where they were like, he can't just be Spider-Man swinging around London.
And then Mary Jane was like, oh, it's Spider-Man, and it's Peter, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Peter's a dumb kid and thinks it's going to work, and Mary Jane is a slightly less dumb kid and is like, no, it didn't work. I know you're Spider-Man. So...
I'm really disappointed that I apparently missed Spider-Man in Ireland. I've been to Ireland many times. There's nowhere for Spider-Man to swing.
Well, you can always go back and read those ones, right?
Don't do it.
Don't.
Trust
he
me.
doesn't do a lot of swinging. He does a lot of punching the IRA.
Yes. Wait,
But,
he's also that's where he's in caves, right? Or is that a different story?
No, that was.
Oh, that was the other one. That was the other one. Yeah.
They were like in a facility, maybe underground, some Roxxon
they were
corporation.
Underground Roxxon. Right. I forgot about
that. Pissed off. Yeah, Joy, come on. Like I was rooting for her so much, and I've just lost all faith in her. But then she shows up with this dress, and I give her like a couple extra points because the dress she's wearing when she just strolls into work the next day is on freaking point.
The fashion in all these issues is amazing.
Except Peter Parker. Peter Parker cannot dress to save his life.
That's good. Know. That's what I like about him.
I can't remember which one of the three it was, but it might have been in Spectacular, but it was just Peter Parker in a robe with the bottom half of his costume still.
Yeah. We will talk about that for sure because it's very ridiculous. Speaking of fashion, Slide. I love that outfit. I think I said that last time. I love his outfit. I love his character design. I love him. He's so funny. Like Josh was saying, he's just like a scientist who was wrong, so he just steals secrets but like not so much that he's like, oh, I'm gonna give to the rich or steal from the rich and give to the poor. He's like, I'm gonna steal from the rich and keep it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna make my own.
That's my money.
I didn't have enough hours to file for EI.
That's exactly what happened. And then, of course, Peter immediately going to visit Aunt May. Finally, it's been like weeks, and every time Aunt May calls, and she's like, "I miss you, Peter," and he's like, "I'm busy."
Hang on.
Like,
yeah.
Like she raised you, Peter. Go visit your freaking Aunt May and then he's like, "Oh, I need food and a nice warm bed to sleep in." How about you?
He needs he needs somebody to not tell him he's bad like everybody else in this is. So he immediately beelines it for Aunt May to tell him he's okay.
This Peter Parker is the worst boyfriend and the worst son. And he's not even dating Mary Jane. They don't know what they are. But I can't believe he mentions that he's like, "Oh, I was just in Europe for a couple days and didn't get my model fashionista girlfriend, maybe not anything. Didn't think to get her anything." I'd be
pissed. I get he was in the middle of a terrorist attack for most of it, but
that's true. They're also the relationship is complicated because they're not dating, but they're always together. They go out on dates, but he's also sleeping with Black Cat, and he's also sleeping with other people. It's been a weird.
Nobody's official, and Mary Jane's sleeping with Alfredo, so it's fine.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Alfredo.
Like they're not committed. As long as everyone's okay with that it's cool. They just got to figure their stuff out.
I feel like if you took all the thousands of Spider-Man, issues that exist, I would say this weird middle ground Peter Parker, Mary Jane thing takes up probably more of them than than them not dating or them dating. Like the middle ground is it's everything.
You're totally right. So okay, here's the thing. We got to wrap this up. Let's talk about the art in this one. Andrew, what do you think of the art? This is by Jim Fern, who's not really a regular, and Vince Colletta, who's a Marvel veteran for inking. But what do you think of it?
I enjoyed it. I it was a little bit more dynamic than say the Amazing Art is at this point. I liked it. It wasn't like spectacular, but
it was amazing. Yeah.
Didn't like the pun. Hated it. Hated the pun.
Didn't mean to. Just I say spectacular a lot.
The doggy did not like it.
Yeah.
No. What's wrong?
Like puns.
Josh, what do you think of the art in this one?
The art is surprisingly really good. I thought. I thought it was in great service to the story. I think that it kind of gives this like retro style, which is super fun.
Right.
It weirdly feels different from a lot of the other web ofs.
Yeah.
I assume because it's not the same artist this week.
Mark Silvestri was the regular. Now I think he's gone. Yeah.
So I really liked it. My favorite panel is in this issue from this month. It's when Vic is running down the stairs to get chicken.
Which page is that?
He's just a man and he knows what he wants.
He's like, you can tell that he is not like full on in a sprint, but his legs are far enough spread apart where that he's walking as fast as he can.
And he's like, "Chicken, you say?
Chicken, you say?"
Yes. That panel stood out to me. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I love it so much. Chicken, say.
This is digital page 12, just so everyone knows it. What does Peter do? Peter's doing the limbo on the other side of the wall there.
Oh,
he needed to draw him in the panel still, but he's
right.
He's holding all those.
Peter just, I know she says chicken, but it looks like Peter just shows up with like 5 things of coleslaw.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right.
I think it's supposed to be KFC.
Screwed up again. Yeah.
Yeah, because he references the
12 herbs and spices.
Yeah.
I do love how it's Peter goes to visit Aunt May and brings her dinner so they can like catch up, whatever. And then this guy, one of like the boarders, he's just like, "Yeah, me, I'm here. Dinner." with a mother and son, I'm invested in this. Like, dude, take your chicken and go eat it in your room. Like,
I don't think he says anything the rest of the
No.
time either. Like he's just kind of like looking back and forth between Aunt May and Peter, just eating chicken.
why
Yeah,
is he there?
He's the best.
because as an interloper on this series, I was just like, who the fuck's this guy?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know who this guy is.
He's the chicken guy.
You're right. Like, why did the writers even give him that scene? Chicken, you say?
That's his only line.
Right in the whole comic. Oh my god, that's funny.
The cool thing about him is he's actually in a wheelchair in the previous issues, and like the chicken, now he can walk. It's a miracle.
Right.
No, wait. You're thinking of Nathan. That's Nathan.
No, I'm making a joke.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, why is he? That's so confusing.
Anyway,
me.
he also sticks. Did you notice he also sticks around for the cake when they have dessert? He's also
Mhm.
in that too. Cake, you say? They should have had that in.
Yeah, like I
should
thought
have.
he was like Aunt May's
Yeah.
like boyfriend or something, but he's
Not
just
that guy.
He's just a porter, so okay.
Yeah. Well,
He wasn't there when they had breakfast, though. That sucks.
That's true.
wait, sorry. What's his name again? I gotta look this guy up. I gotta see if he comes back.
Vic.
Vic?
Vic. Okay, let me look him up right now, really quickly. Victor Palermo. Oh no, that's not him. No.
At least.
Oh, it is him. It is him. Okay, so rest assured, he comes back. Okay.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
I think he's like.
Is he
been
also
in it.
Is he also a hobgoblin at some point?
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if he was a new suspect, honestly, at this point.
Hobgoblin rips off the mask, and Peter's like, "It's
Chicken time.
guy." I know. I
Okay.
knew it.
you want to know something crazy? This guy was created in Marvel Team Up number 124. I guess we missed that one, John. We read it, but I completely forgot.
Well, yeah, he's probably been in the background for all of these issues. We've just never really noticed it because he hasn't had any lines or any notable
Right.
lines.
Well,
He's just the only person left at the halfway home.
The span of time we've spent talking about this guy is probably
More than-
way more dialogue than
Yes.
he ever has.
and for those that are paying attention, his last appearance was in Web of Spider-Man 78 in July 1991. So everyone run out and get that one because it's going to be worth a lot of money one day.
Oh,
Okay, so
Oh, his wife is the angry looking lady.
right.
The one who's always bitching.
Doesn't buy any KFC either.
So last word, Andrew.
Why isn't she there?
Andrew, do you recommend this issue?
Sure. For Slide, yeah. For Slide. And
okay.
Vic. And Vic.
and Vic,
And
of
for
course.
Victor, right. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, this was a pretty fun one. Even if it does kind of feel a little bit fill-in-ish, I still had fun reading it. So yeah.
All right, Bex Luthor.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's Slide, right? Like, how can you not? There's like what, 6 issues with this guy in it? Might as well read one of them.
You got it. I agree. I like Slide. I like this issue. It was fun. And with that, we're gonna move on to
I was gonna say, you know who they should bring into the Spider-Verse too? Slide.
Oh,
He's sick in that animation style.
you ready
That
about
would be
that?
actually really cool.
He
Yep.
showed up recently in this in probably an Amazing.
Really?
Like within the
Oh.
last like 2, like recent enough that it's on Marvel Unlimited. So like, you
Wow.
know, yeah.
I mean, his costume looks cool. His power set's cool. The fact that it's just like Pam that he's like spraying on himself is a little ridiculous, but yeah, I'd be excited to see more of him.
It's really hard not to remember like the greased up guy from Family Guy whenever he was doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't remember that character, but it's what you are.
Okay, now we are gonna jump to Amazing Spider-Man 285
Right.
Gang War Part 2. And who's doing this one again?
Me.
Bex Luthor. Are you gonna tell us what's going on in this one?
Yeah, and it's a good thing 2 weeks ago you told us that the digital issue we were reading was just cut off and that the Punisher was actually in that issue because now the
Right.
Punisher's here.
Exactly, yes.
So the last issue, the scans just cut off, which is fun.
Very
and now
bizarre.
the Punisher's here.
Right.
And this takes this. We start with like the gang war that's been happening apparently in New York between like Hammerhead, the Rose, Hobgoblin, Jack-o'-lantern, the Arranger, not Kingpin because he's on vacation.
Right.
No, I think what happens is he got in a fight with Daredevil. Daredevil kicked his ass and he got sad, so now he's on vacation.
Right. Exactly.
Just left his sick wife. Just is gone.
F her.
Buying some white paintings somewhere.
So we start off with Hammerhead, which is just a big old splash page of his 5-head, and he's talking to the Rose, and they're talking about the gang war and how the Rose is going to eventually have to intervene, and how he doesn't want to intervene. So a really, really productive conversation. And then they're like, "What are we going to do, boss?" And he's like, "Don't worry, I'll figure it out." Spoiler alert, he doesn't. And then we quickly pan over to some sort of gang war, I guess. In where are they? They're in like a casino arcade.
I think it's just an arcade.
It's just like a regular kids arcade.
Yeah.
I was like, are these like poker machines? No, they're just arcade cabinets. And Spider-Man's fighting some goons, and then his spider sense goes off, and he's like, "Whoa!" And he gets out of the way because two goons get sniped because Punisher's here, and he's gonna end the gang war because he doesn't like all these criminals, obviously. So a little bit of internal monologue between Spider-Man and Punisher, how like they both kind of understand where each other's coming from, but they don't like it. There's a little rooftop chase scene, but Punisher's like, "Oh, you're chasing me, Spider-Man. Well, like, what about those guys I shot? They're bleeding out." And Peter's like, "Ah, crap, you're right. I gotta go get them." So he goes back. The cops show up, and they're like, "Hey, Spider-Man, we don't really like you." And he's like, "Yeah, I know." And he bounces. And at the same time, the Hobgoblin is thinking about him, I guess. We go over to, it looks like Jack-o'-lantern. It was instructed by the Arranger to kill Hammerhead. I think that's what, right? Arranger is instructed Jack-o'-lantern, I think.
Yeah.
I think I have that. I was like so confused half the time. I was like, who hired who?
Thorn. Yeah.
Right.
Thorn was Hobgoblin, and Arranger was yes. Yep.
Yeah. So Arranger hired Jack-o'-lantern, and then Hammerhead comes out and he's like, "Oh, I got all my goons though." And Jack-o'-lantern's like, "Oh no, goons! I didn't prepare for there to be a couple people." So he younces. And then the more mob guys that nobody cares about are talking to the Arranger, and they're like, "Where's Kingpin?" Nobody knows where Kingpin is. But then Richard Fisk, Kingpin's son, shows up, and he's like, "Hey, I want to see my sick mom," and she doesn't remember him, and it's very sad. And then Peter is, I was like, where did I lead off? Oh yeah, Peter is like ticked off, and he's at the Bugle, and nobody wants his pictures, and Ned is angry at everybody. Basically, his wife's cheating on him. Also, he thinks he's the Hobgoblin at this point. It's just a big Ned is having a bad time. And also, he's losing out on all these gigs because Ben Ulrich is just schmoozing his way to the top. I love this disheveled glasses, like down to the tip of his nose, tie loosened Ben Ulrich. That's my favorite. So Spidey goes, and he's gonna end the gang war. That's what his plan is. His plan is to end the gang war, and he swings off, and the Punisher's like getting ready to also end the gang war. We have a very patriotic shot of Spidey swinging over the American flag. There is a bit more drama. So, like, it looks like everybody is all together gathered for some sort of meeting, like the Rose, the Arranger, some other miscellaneous mafia mob guys. And the Punisher's, his really cool, sick plan is to shoot a bazooka into the room where all of these people are. He's like, that'll alert them. It won't end crime, but I sure will put a dent in it. And Peter's like, "Oh no, don't shoot a bazooka into a building." So they have a little scuffle there, and the bazooka shoots off, and it shoots into the sky, and it alerts all the mob people that, like, "Oh no, there's somebody here." So Arranger sends Jack-o'-lantern out, Rose sends Hobgoblin out, and they decide that they're going to work together. But what the arranger doesn't know is that the Rose is like he's like, why are you working with me? And Rose is like, don't worry about it. But we know. Wait, do we know yet who the Rose is, or do I just know?
I think you just know. The readers don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out if I just knew or if it was a
Yeah.
real thing.
I was like, shit. Did we find out about that yet?
Yeah, but do you know from reading the comic or from just knowing?
Just from knowing who the Rose is, just from like more modern stuff.
Same.
Sorry, anyway. So the little scuffle on the rooftop. Peter uses some rocks to push the Punisher down, and then the Punisher punches himself in the chest, which explodes a bunch of poison gas, I guess, and leaves Peter just
that was weird. Yeah.
crumpled on the rooftop and younces, and that's the end of the issue. I will say though, so when you go to like the Marvel fandom wiki, and if you're on the page for Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, issue 285, there is a little quote, which doesn't really happen with these like issues. There's a quote, and it's the best quote ever from this issue. What page is it on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, like page 6 or 7.
Okay.
It's one of the pages with the Punisher and Spider-Man, and it's Spider-Man going, "What's the difference between you and them?" And Punisher going, "The difference is I'm right and they're dead." And
I
it's my
love
favorite quote.
That was so good.
That could have just been in the Dolph Lundgren movie.
Right.
Like, why wasn't that like the subtitle for this issue? The difference is I'm right and they're dead. Like, Frank, buddy, no, that's not how logic works. Where's your van? Where's his fun van? Was that just in the comic or in the cartoon? I thought he had the van in the comic too.
No, he has
No, he has it.
Oh, he has a van. This issue had a really great moment for not just the Punisher, but for people running up against Spider-Man in general, where he webs up the Punisher, and he's like, all right, that'll hold him, and he comes back, and like the Punisher just like ripped his shirt sleeve off, and that was enough to get him out. And I'm like, just first guy who ever thought about that.
Right.
Damn it. And he just rips his sleeve and walks away. All the other people Spider-Man has webbed to walls has never thought, I'll take my shirt off.
No, I love it. So
just for the record, that quote is on page 22 actually. It's it's the second fight, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the first fight, the second fight.
It's a great quote though. But
he's just firing a machine gun at Spider-Man.
So Bex Luthor, what did you think of this issue?
Man, I hate this gang war. It's so boring. Like,
okay, well, there's only 3 more issues to go, but go ahead.
It's just, you've got like the Hobgoblin and Jack-o'-lantern, which are cool characters, but they're like being controlled by these boring ass pencil pushers. Like, who cares? I don't care what the mob or the mafia is doing. No, I want to see Spider-Man punch Hobgoblin in the face. Like, they're all like, oh, we have to consider our moves carefully. No, you don't.
I think the whole idea of making them like an analogy to the mafia is more interesting personally than just them like wreaking havoc and robbing banks. But
I'd like to see them do mafia things though. Like,
okay, good point.
Like, it's only a gang war in the sense that they say that it's a gang war. Like,
yeah,
they haven't
good point.
Really shown us that like doing anything.
Good point. Yeah.
Their only criminal enterprise seems to be like they might have some arcade machines rigged.
Oh my god. Yeah, it seems very strange. Because I think that all of these characters are interesting by themselves, and the fact that they're all against each other, even without Spider-Man there, and he's got to kind of like jump into the middle of this fight is super interesting. But they're not doing anything of substance to make it a gang war. They're like just saying we've got to put a stop to this gang war without showing us anything happening. And I'm sure that they've kind of talked about it before in previous issues, but I don't remember there being anything like substantial happening. right?
And,
Like
like-
Kingpin left because of something that happened in a Daredevil issue, right? And
yeah,
then
so like the other little factions are all like trying to get power now because he's not there. He left like a power vacuum.
right,
Mhm.
but did anything happen? Is what I mean, like I don't
No.
remember. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
It's like Peter keeps saying, "Oh, we gotta end this gang war because of all the innocent civilians," but the only thing that they showed is other gangs fighting each other. Like there's no innocence. It's just
There's the Blue Boys.
yeah, the blue boys fighting whoever
Blue boys,
is against them.
That's a great point. Like show don't tell, right? But they haven't shown anything. Andrew, what did you think of this issue overall compared to the other two we reviewed?
Definitely the weakest of the three, I would say. Yeah, from an artwork standpoint, it's just such like workman, like boring, like you know, like it's so typical Spider-Man artwork that you're just like there doesn't seem to be a lot of trying going on. And yeah, I felt the same thing about the gang war. Like I was like, oh, maybe it's gang war part 1. I was like, maybe I missed some of the gang war in part 1 or part 2 rather. Maybe I missed it in part 1. And I was like, but yeah, it just really felt like a bunch of like, goons getting their asses kicked by various higher level goons. Also weird to see Hobgoblin and Jack-o'-lantern against each other since I feel like they're
well,
their whole shtick really runs together.
Yes,
Like
you're right.
Jack-o'-lantern is just like an off-brand Hobgoblin.
Yeah,
I
they've
think that
got
was
more in
weird,
common
too.
than they think.
Well, this Jack-o'-lantern also becomes the Hobgoblin later, so it's just the same guy.
Oh, who's Ned Leeds at this point?
No, he's just Ned right now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
gets confusing because I watched an interview with Peter David, and at this point, nobody on the writers team thought that Ned Leeds was the Hobgoblin. They all had plans for someone else. I can't remember which one it was, but it wasn't Ned Leeds. Next week, we're gonna review the death of Ned Leeds, which confuses everything.
He
And
doesn't die.
yeah, we won't even talk about that. Yeah. But yeah, things are getting wacky around this point. Also, we should point out that if you'll notice, this issue was plotted by Tom DeFalco, but it was written by editor Jim Owsley, who went on to change his name to Christopher Priest. So
Interesting.
I'm surprised how bad this was because he is a good writer. So, I mean, granted, he was like 25 at this point, but yeah, this was a pretty rough issue.
Yeah, I like Christopher Priest.
Right. Joshua Mervell, you've been reading Amazing Spider-Man for how many issues in a row now? 890 something? What do you think of this one?
Yeah, it's been probably close to 100. Yeah, it's fine. It's not the worst one I've read. It's not close to the best one. Again, I just don't buy that there's a gang war going on because I don't ever see it. Like these guys kind of seem like they don't like each other a whole lot, but that's about it. I really do like the Rose. I like his dynamic with Hobgoblin. I like that he's against Kingpin, and we're later going to learn that maybe it's personal, the reason why he's here fighting against Kingpin. I like the fact that the Kingpin's son is now showing up, and I think we've spoiled this in a previous episode. Can I just say it?
Might as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Kingpin's son is the Rose, right? So
right.
So I like that, like he's going to visit his mom, and she's kind of been locked away from him. Like Kingpin won't allow any visitors to go see her. So he's finally got a chance to go see her now that he's kind of like gone away somewhere. So there's some like really fun stuff happening. I just don't buy like the main plot, so it kind of lessens what's happening in the issues.
Yeah.
Also, the Punisher's here.
Yeah, the Punisher's here, I guess.
I mean, it makes sense. There's a lot of criminals going around, but to be honest, there's always a lot of criminals going around. So, like, what about these criminals is special for Frank to be like, oh, Time to go kill him.
These ones are dead. You already
Yeah.
answered that.
Ah, right. Sorry.
It feels like a little bit like they're juggling too much right now. Like, I understand it's a gang war, so like all of the big bad guys are versing each other and like fighting each other, but we don't ever get to see them like have any like actual
Right.
interactions with one another.
Right.
So we're just kind of like, look, Jack-o'-lantern's here, Hobgoblin, you're here, the Rose is here too. Like, it's just all of these people that they just mention. They talk about the Foreigner, and they talk about the Planner. What's his name?
The Arranger.
The Arranger, yeah.
Is this a rebrand of the Fixer? Because I was not familiar with the Arranger.
Wait,
He's
who's
just-
the Fixer? I don't remember who the Fixer is.
Isn't the Fixer the guy? Isn't the Fixer the guy that killed Jack Murdoch?
Oh.
Yeah,
Hold
that is correct.
Hold on.
You know, the Arranger is just Kingpin's secretary wanted a fancy name
Right.
too.
I would have kept
You-
going through the.
I didn't realize,
thesaurus
sorry.
on that one.
The Fixer was created in Daredevil #1 from 1964. So I think fixing is different from arranging those. So I think it's two
That's true.
unrelated characters. Yeah.
There's
Just like
is there also like the coordinator?
yeah. Okay. So one thing I also have to point out, I think they're doing a decent job of all these red herrings because I love that one scene on digital page 15 where Ned Leeds is having like his heart-to-heart with Joe Robertson, and then Ben Urich comes in and he's like, the Rose will be the last major player in town, blah blah blah. And then Ned Leeds is like, the Rose has a lot of muscle too, Ben. He's not just gonna roll over for Hammerhead. And then it cuts to the shot, all black background, and Ben Urich says, "Tell you one thing though, no matter which way the gang war goes, this town's in for some real fireworks." So they're trying to lead you to think that Ned Leeds is the Rose, which might have been their intent. I don't know, because everything changed because of Tom DeFalco getting fired, then Peter David getting fired, then Jim Owsley getting fired, then Jim Shooter getting fired. So yeah, it was a rough time for Marvel.
But it's also making it so that their stories are, when you're reading them, like every week a new issue instead of like every month. I'm just like, you changing your mind like 10 times?
I know.
Just go with this. Could you imagine watching a movie and it's just like, is it this guy? Is it this guy? But like the writers don't know until the end.
That's called Lost, right?
You really, really feel that too. And like, it's not like it's a problem that Marvel has ever learned from with Spider-Man because they're still pretty much doing it.
Okay, so here's the thing. I thought this issue was very flimsy, very weak. I mean, the great cover by Mike Zeck, but otherwise, I did not like it. I mean, you know, if you're gonna skip issues of Amazing Spider-Man, you might as well skip this whole gang war because it seems to be a complete mess by a different writer who's not doing as good a job as Tom DeFalco. So I don't actually recommend this one. Andrew, what about you? Do you recommend this one?
Nah, this one's a hard pass for me. Just there's a gang war like animated spectacular Spider-Man couple episodes. Just watch that instead.
Okay, Joshua Mervell.
No, I don't think I would recommend it. It's not like terribly offensive where I think it's bad. I think it's just like so nothing. Like it's if you skip it, you're not missing anything. So yeah, I don't recommend it.
Bex Luthor.
I'd say nah, just skip it. But it does have my favorite ship right now, which is Hobgoblin and Rose interacting. So anytime that they're together, you can't tell me they're not dating. Hobgoblin was like, "What's going on here, Rose?" And he just put his hand up. He's like, "We'll talk about it later at home."
Right.
and then Hobgoblin was just like, "Okay, I can't say mad at you." Like, come on, cutest ship ever. All right, couple goals, really. But yeah, so maybe go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, one thing I love about these '80s comics is there's all those weird moments that you can like identify like that, but I don't know, they don't really have them anymore. But that's just me. But yeah. Later. I'm looking at it right now. He's like, later. I love it.
When we're in bed together later, we'll talk about it after tea.
And the best is that the writers don't know who either of their identities are.
Right.
They're both Ned Leeds.
just Ned talking to himself. He's like, well, you know what? My wife cheated on me, so I can only trust Ned now.
Can we also quickly talk about how weird Rose's mask is? I didn't realize that it's like a helmet that comes up from the front.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it's like a leather, just like pullover mask or something, but it's like it's hard plastic, I guess, and just like lifts up like an Iron Man mask.
It's like a grocery store Halloween costume.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, because I thought it was just like a balaclava thing that he just pulled over.
It is also weird that he has his glasses over top of the mask, but
well, how is he gonna see, Mike?
I kind of like it.
Point.
Didn't have soft contacts yet.
No, I kind of like that he's got
wait.
his glasses over top.
Right?
Does Richard Fisk have glasses? No.
Throwing you off the scent.
There you go. It worked.
He's like, nobody will believe I'm a nerd.
You're a reverse Superman.
Okay.
Covered his entire face and has glasses. They'll never get it.
So with that, we are going to move to Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man 123. This is the return of Blaze, who appeared in Peter David's first issue of Peter Parker. Blaze was actually a fictional sort of supervillain created by these college kids, but now somehow he is back and he's real. This issue starts out with Spider-Man. It's one of those, jump into the middle of the action things where Spider-Man is looking at a building and the building's exploding and he's like, Felicia! So Spider-Man swoops in and rescues Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat, gets her out of this burning building. They land on the street and they run into Chris Keating? Yeah. Mm. Chris Keating, who's a police officer who's been making, numerous appearances lately, with the writers leading you to believe that he might be somebody like the Hobgoblin. He might be someone else. We don't know.
Maybe he's Ned Leeds.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. There you go. And so anyway, going on back and forth, blah, blah, blah. So then basically Peter Parker and Black Cat are sort of doing their thing. Oh, yeah. So they flash back and explain how they got to this point. And Black Cat basically explains that she got some mail under her door that said, someone slipped a note under my door a few minutes ago. It said, since I'm Spider-Man's lover, I'll be the first to die. Then the note burst into a puff of smoke and then ashes. And then Spider-Man's like, that's kind of fishy. Maybe we should go investigate. And then just as he's showing up, this explosion happens. So we flash back to the present. Black Cat has nowhere to stay. So Peter's like, okay, fine, you can stay at my apartment. They get back to his apartment. Of course, Randy, Candy, and Bambi, or at least two of them, are sunbathing out on the roof. And Black Cat comes up with a brilliant idea to distract them. She just shouts out, run, it's Spider-Man! And then they're like so scared of Spider-Man that they just run back into their apartment. And so then they're like, oh, look at that. So we managed to get in. So meanwhile, Mary Jane is doing her thing. She is this her new semi-boyfriend? What's his name?
Yeah.
It's Alfredo.
Alfredo. He's kind of like hitting on her, but she's trying to brush him off. And he's like making fun of Peter Parker in the meantime. So we cut back to Peter and Black Cat flirting, arguing. And then, of course, there's a knock on the door. So Peter does what anyone would do. He throws Black Cat across the room. Yeah. Knocks her like 10 feet in the air.
Nice.
She falls. Mary Jane is there. I love this exchange. Mary Jane is leaning on the doorway. And she's like, hi, Tiger. Hey, you're beat red. And then she's just sitting there. And she's like, Peter, I can't keep this smile I can't keep this smile pasted on forever. Do something. So then this awkward exchange happens between Mary Jane and Black Cat. And they're kind of like, being catty, so to speak. Oh, and then I love this. Then Mary Jane says, so Mary Jane's making fun of Black Cat, complaining about her, and then Peter's like, that's ridiculous. You make it sound like I'm at her beck and call. Then Black Cat says, Peter, I just thought of something. I just thought of someone who can help us. Let's go. Peter's like, great, I'm with you. So they take off, and Mary Jane's left by herself. Then we cut over to this scene of the foreigner's buddy. It's not the arranger, it's not the fixer. It's, who is your guy, Andrew?
The The coordinator?
The coordinator. It might be the coordinator. I don't know. So the coordinator is hiring this guy to kill Spider-Man, and he gives him this weapon. The coordinator pulls it. No, sorry. The bad guy pulls the gun on the coordinator, goes to shoot him, but the gun doesn't actually work, so blah, blah, blah. So he's been outsmarted by the foreigner. So anyway, he signs his contract. He's being hired to kill Spider-Man and the Black Cat. So then this is the part I was confused by. Spider-Man and Black Cat, they go to, is this the foreigner's office?
This is foreigner's office, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So they go to foreigner's office, and while they're there, this middle-aged woman storms into the waiting area, goes past them, walks in, pulls out a gun, and shoots the foreigner. But then they realize, oh, the person that was shot is actually a dummy. The woman is the foreigner. So they start chatting it up, and of course, foreigner kisses Black Cat on the cheek because in a previous issue they had slept together, right? So we know they're kind of friends with benefits or whatever you want to call them. And they're chatting it up back and forth, and then I don't even remember what happens in the scene. What comes out of the scene? Anything?
Foreigner tells them that he knows who set Felicia's apartment on fire. It was this guy Blaze.
Right, exactly. Okay, so then Spider-Man and Black Cat take off. They find Blaze, and Blaze is like, look, I've been hired to kill you guys, but I got a better idea. Why don't you guys pay me to kill the foreigner? And Spider-Man's like, oh, really? So then Spider-Man, just like he did with Black Cat, punches him in the face. He goes flying across the room. They web him up. And then there's this weird scene where Spider-Man notices that Felicia's nails are really long. But then she closes her fist and opens them back up, and they look completely normal. So I'm sure that'll come back in a future issue, but we don't know what's going on yet. So they've tied up the foreigner, and then meanwhile, who's this other guy? I just read this yesterday. Who's this other guy that's shooting at them now?
It's the Blaze's goons, because they tied up a woman who worked at this.
That's right.
Yeah. They gave him like a Saw video, and they're like, "We're gonna get you if you don't pay it, Spider-Man. If you don't pay us $30,000, we're gonna kill her."
Right. And unfortunately, they find the woman, and she has been shot dead. So they came too late, which proves they figure out that the video was pre-recorded. So then they go back and they find Blaze, and Blaze is talking smack, and he's shooting a flamethrower at them. But then Spider-Man and Black Cat take out all the goons. Then Blaze throws a grenade at them, but Spider-Man catches it and throws it back. Then he's just about to start beating the crap out of Blaze. And then, of course, Chris Keating shows up. And Spider-Man's like, okay, whatever, I'm out of here. I was going to beat him up, but now you're here, so see you later. So then Spider-Man and Black Cat are chatting it up, and they decide, whatever. One thing leads to another. They kiss. Then it cuts over to Chris Keating coming into Blaze's prison cell. And Chris Keating's already figured out what's going on. He's like, yeah, I know you were hired by the foreigner. I know you were hired to kill Spider-Man and Black Cat. And then he breaks Blaze's neck, and then all of a sudden has superhuman strength. He pulls the prison bars inward to make it look like someone broke in, calls the prison guards, and basically says that Spider-Man broke in and broke Blaze's neck. And that is the end of the story. And I'll just say, maybe didn't have much competition, but I thought this was the best one this month, easily. Andrew Helmer, what's your review of this one?
So I liked a lot of it. I actually really liked the art. I found it really dynamic at times. At first I hated, but then quickly fell in love with glam rock Black Cat. I was just like, this is terrible. I don't know. It's growing on me. I love this. This is just Black Cat now.
Right.
But it had some of the. So I last time I was on, we were it was still a Peter David run, and some of his writing is a little, and by a little I mean kind of a lot sexist, and there's some kind of questionable stuff going on, and Peter's a real jerk. And everybody's it just felt a little icky at times. But story-wise, I was mostly on board. I just felt like there was some, period era ickiness going on, and
Yeah, it's funny because I thought the dialogue was really good, but some things I took notice of was the woman getting held hostage, then murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Randy, Candy, and Bambi, they're staples. I love them. They're fine. I don't know.
There was like Peter like shouting like, "I'm not just some defenseless woman."
Right.
Or him shoving like Felicia.
Black.
And when they're not in costume, it feels very. It just feels rough, like it doesn't feel, yeah. Like Black Cat doesn't have superhuman strength, at least at this run.
Right.
She does.
I think she's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of what happened in this. I really don't like how Felicia is written.
Mm-hmm.
In this era. It's really weird that they're like forcing this like love triangle back again with MJ and Peter and Felicia, and at the same time MJ seeing Alfredo and Felicia seeing Foreigner, and like they all know it. They all know that they're in relationships with all of these people, but they're still being romantic with everybody, and it just feels weird that like nobody's feelings are really hurt. Nobody's upset by this. Like
80s, man.
Yeah. Peter's just like, oh, that's weird. Foreigner kissed Felicia. Whatever. I'll kiss Felicia too.
Like Foreigner.
Is Mary Jane dating Pizza by Alfredo or Alfredo's Pizza? I just want to know that. There's a big difference.
There's a big difference.
Not Office fans, are you?
No, I love.
I got
it. I didn't get it.
I didn't get it. No, I've never seen it. Well, clips, but Bex Luthor, what'd you think of this issue?
I hated it.
Oh, what a surprise!
Yeah, it's so shocking that I hated the issue where 3 women are just treated as disposable objects throughout the whole thing.
What about the dialogue? The sharp, funny dialogue. Didn't you like that?
I was too focused on the fact that a nameless, busty woman was used as a prop to get Spider-Man angry, and then her dead corpse was used as a shock factor. I'm just tired of that shit. Honestly, it's exhausting.
And like on top of that too, they also had to, of course, like rip her dress, so her like tits are just hanging out. So like even like this dead body is like weirdly sexualized.
Good point.
Yeah.
And Felicia is weirdly sexualized the whole time. Like her bodysuit is normally like skin tight, and that's fine because so's Peter's. But like, it's just Peter just like picks her up and like just carries her around like she's a cat, literally, like a dead cat.
And then like the next panel, they're like jumping around the city, swinging together, like nothing's wrong with her. Like it's just weird that it's I don't know.
I will say though, I did enjoy how Peter sits at home alone in the Spider-Man bottoms and just an orange bathrobe, and then if the phone rings, he gets up from sitting. Felicia's like, "You're going to want to sit down for this." So he then says, "Let me grab a wall." And he sits down on the wall. You were just sitting, Peter.
Yeah.
So not only does that happen, but then he goes to Felicia's apartment, grabs Felicia, goes back home, takes off his Spider-Man. No, wait. He hangs up the phone. He takes off his robe. He puts on his Spider-Man shirt. He goes to get Felicia. He comes back home. He takes off his Spider-Man shirt. He puts back on his Spider-Man robe. Mary Jane comes in. Then he takes off his robe, puts back his Spider-Man costume on, and then leaves again. Dude, what's with you in this orange robe? There's no continuity here. That's what I'm saying.
Anyway, the scene of him sitting on the wall is awesome. I love that.
That's the only good part.
It's something only Spider-Man can do. I love all the dialogue. Again, like the exchange that I mentioned about Mary Jane. The dialogue is excellent, as always, with Peter David.
My problem is like the only time that these two women talk to each other, they're immediately like, this bitch. No, this bitch. Like, cool. I mean, ladies, you're mad at the wrong person. Peter's right there. Being a dick to both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also like, does Felicia have to like seduce Peter
That's
all
her
the
plan with
time?
Foreigner, right? Is like, make him love you so that we could kill him?
Yeah, it's like like you already have a past relationship. Do you need to go back into being in a relationship to make Peter care about you? It's like Peter's going to care about you either way.
Yeah.
You don't need to like, I don't know. And then you can you don't have to have MJ and Felicia be like catty with each other, and like I don't know. I'm really not a fan of how Felicia is written. I just don't like her character. And it's weird. I thought I liked Felicia Hardy, but everything that we've ever read, I'm like, oh, I hate this character. And it's like the same problem with Peter. It's like I like Peter Parker, but I just hate how he's written a lot of times in the 80s. Especially when it comes to women and his relationships. He's just always a dick to everybody.
Yeah, like
it doesn't seem like nerdy Peter.
He can't stop like calling every woman he knows like crazy or nuts or like
when he's literally lying and gaslighting all of them. Like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. I'm not Spider-Man. And then he's like, haha, I am Spider-Man. Fuck you, Peter.
Little does she know I am Spider-Man.
I also will say the other thing that I liked is the Foreigner stupidly revealing his entire like bag of tricks to both of them. He's like, oh, by the way, I disguised myself as other people for fun. Don't worry, though. That's not a plot point for later. Like, why would you do that? Why would you show them that that's something that you do? Is it just... It's got to just be for the audience, because there's no way Peter and Felicia are going to remember that because they're idiots.
I also I really liked that they had to clarify that it wasn't Foreigner the band, because I was just like, is it Foreigner the band? No, it's Spider-Man villain. Okay.
So, do you think at this? Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say I also was laughing at this whole Gene Parmesan reveal for Foreigner. It's like so stupid, but I loved it because everything else I feel like in this issue I was just like, ugh, don't like that. And then of course he's dressed up as his angry ex-wife to fool them for some reason.
So let me see if I get this straight of how this is my sequence of events in this very short issue of what Foreigner does. So they're like, okay, this guy burned down my apartment. Let's go see Foreigner. And Foreigner, they go show up. Old lady, shoots him. Oh, it's not him, it's Foreigner. And then Foreigner's like, sorry about that. I'm just pretending to be my ex-wife. And they're like, yeah, cool. And then he's like, oh, I know this guy. It was probably Blaze. Blaze burned it down. And then they're like, all right, cool. I'll go good. And then it turns out that he hired Blaze to throw them off of his scent, even though they've already come to him for this. Like, couldn't he have just... I mean, he clearly got the drop on them already in his office. He could have been like, he could have shot them when he was dressed up as the woman, and there you go. End of... He put too much thought into this.
It doesn't quite make sense, but it's very theatrical, right?
Yeah, I think the whole plot of this is trying to get Felicia back together with Peter to gain his trust again. But my thought is, Peter was super mad that lady died. Like, what are the chances that his reaction to being so grief-stricken with not being able to save someone was to make out with Felicia and not just internalize everything and fuck off like he normally does? Like, go off and brood some more.
So like, until you guys let me, I didn't know that was a plot between Black Cat and Felicia. I just thought this was literally just the 400th retread of Black Cat showing up and being like, I've changed this time. And Peter being like, damn it, I'll give you a shot.
Well,
No.
I'm sure by the end of this whole plot, she's gonna realize, oh my goodness, Peter, I actually am in love with you. I originally was doing this to get back at you and to kill you to get revenge, but I realized that I've loved you this entire time. Like, of course it's going to be that. Like, what? Oh God, yeah, I really hate this. I really hate this Felicia
Because
already.
like nobody seems like they're being serious. Because when Foreigner and Felicia Foreigner tried to sent Sabretooth, not sent him, but Sabretooth went to go fight Spider-Man. Felicia beat up Sabretooth. Foreigner came to kill Felicia because she beat up Sabretooth. And they were like, nah, let's make a deal. How about we kill Spider-Man together? But like part of me was like, is Felicia just doing this to just get the Foreigner off her hands? But then she sleeps with him and seems to have actual feelings for him. He's just using her. I think part of her is using him. And then also she still loves Spider-Man and I don't think wants to kill him at all. So I don't understand what the point of any of this is. Like the Foreigner just wants to kill Spider-Man, but there's gotta be an easier way.
What about the art? Let's talk about the art. Andrew Helmer. What do you think about the art here by Dwayne Turner and Art Nichols?
Oh, what a name. I like the art a lot. I really like the opening panel, like of Spidey like seeing the explosion. It's like it's a very dynamic like panel, and there's a lot of that throughout the issue that I enjoy. And I gotta say, I just love glam rock Black Cat. It's
Nice.
such a ridiculous outfit that it just feels like made to be like DLC for a video game.
Okay, Joshua Mervell, what do you think of the art in this one?
I hate Black Cat's jacket.
Oh,
hate it.
I'm being sarcastic.
I love that I love that even the writers have to like take a dig at the jacket. Like she's knocked out in the apartment without it, and the first thing she says is, "Don't forget my cool jacket with the gold studs on the shoulder." And Peter's like, "This ugly piece of shit." Okay, I'll grab it, I guess. Yeah, the art's fine. I mean, it works well with the story. Everything was pretty clear, but I will say it made me miss Rich Buckler from last issue because I really enjoyed that art. But
yeah, I know Dwayne Turner from Sovereign 7 with Chris Claremont, and I think this was much better. But I'm surprised how good it was, considering it was kind of a fill-in job. But Bex Luthor, what did you think of it?
I don't know. I thought I was kind of it's fine for me. It's a little bit objectifying at sometimes. Felicia's always drawn with a sexy face, which I noticed. I don't know. So but sometimes I'm like, okay, well, he can draw one face, but like none of the dudes are pretty well. Like Foreigner's got some good facial expressions, but Felicia's got two facial expressions. She's got pouty lips and then mouth very agape pouty lips. So
it's a subtle difference there.
Yeah, that's the two emotions: sexy and sexy.
Scared and sexy.
Scared and sexy. So scared. Meh. Nothing really like stuck out to me as like something as like an interesting panel or like something that I was like, oh, that's such a cool idea. It just seemed pretty generic.
All right.
I do want to comment on Black Cat's outfit though, because I just want to remind everyone that this outfit is a direct, like, it directly relates to Secret Wars 2. And I want everyone to remember that Secret Wars 2 caused this outfit. So if people didn't like Secret Wars 2, this is another reason to dislike it, because
that's fair.
The gold notebook is on her.
Yeah,
lapel.
her shoulder pads are the gold notebook, right?
Yes, she melted down the gold notebook and turned them into shoulder pads for her leather jacket.
Because it's 1987.
That's and then she also like complains. She's like, "You think I'm made of money, Peter?" There's literally
yes.
You actually are made of money, yes.
Ma'am.
Now, Is her hair tied back, or is this a weird like shave? Like,
yeah, she just got a rat tail now.
Ugh. This is so 80s, but what can you do, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking, yeah, it's just a rat tail and not a ponytail.
I don't know why I really enjoyed, but like when MJ shows up at the apartment and she's only just found out that he's Spider-Man. And like it's it can't have been too long, and he's just like, "Oh, MJ, I don't suppose you've met Black Cat."
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you idiot, I haven't.
Peter, or MJ, this is my good friend Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then
really-
she's like, oh, where did you go to school? And he's like, no, not that kind of doctor.
Yeah, like really easing her into this lifestyle.
Like, no
So-
wonder she's going for this Alfredo guy. God, Peter, you suck so much.
How is it that we have a character named Alfredo and he's not in the mafia story?
Good point. Good point.
But
Come
he
on.
is.
How could
He's
you do
French.
this to me,
He's-
Alfredo?
He's Ned Leeds.
No, Alfredo is.
Oh my god.
So, speaking of red herrings, who, as a reader, do we think Chris Keating is at this point, considering he clearly has superhuman strength?
I know who he is.
I just assumed it was a new character.
Yeah, same.
Oh.
I just assumed that we are gonna like. I don't know who at
The-
this point is a
Well,
villain.
do you think that he's supposed to be the Hobgoblin?
No.
He's not,
Okay.
He he looks like he's really pulling down like a pretty solid 9-to-5 job. I feel like he wouldn't necessarily have time to hobgoblin around.
Bex Luthor, do you know something we don't know?
Yeah, I know who Chris Keating is.
Ooh.
Are
you gonna keep a secret?
I don't know. I don't want.
Is it a character that's
Yes.
that's already around right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So like that's why it's like so weird. It's like who's the Hobgoblin? Ooh, what's going on with Ned? Oh, what's going on with this guy? Who's the Rose? Who's Captain Keating? Like it's like too many. Like you could have one or two, but why do 5 people need alter like secret identities? Like calm down.
Yeah, I will say though, I did like this little reveal at the end. I thought that was probably the strongest part of the issue. I also kind of like that he seems like unassuming. Like he kind of looks like a little bit out of shape. He's an older guy. Like we always kind of knew something weird and fishy was going on with him. But then when he rips the like jail bars out, you're like, I was like, holy shit, what the hell is going on? This guy is some sort of like superhuman. I never would have guessed that. So that was a genuinely nice surprise to see. Because I didn't expect that from him.
Yeah, and with that, I will say that I do recommend this issue, despite the issues that we all had with it. I thought it was the best of the bunch. And yeah, I have fond memories of reading this one for good reason, I think. I thought it was a good one. Andrew Helmer, do you recommend this issue?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't know. No, probably not. If I'm actually being honest, no, I don't think so.
All right, Joshua Mervell.
No, I don't think I would. I mean, they really kind of play up this whole Blaze is back. Everybody, guess what? Blaze is back. He's on maybe 2 pages and then he's dead. He's gone forever. He's gone again. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that enough good things happen in this to outweigh the problems I had with it. If you have this issue, skip to like the end page, and I don't think you'll really miss anything else that happened.
All right, Bex Luthor, do you recommend it?
Yeah, no. Things that make me go ugh, I can't recommend, right? Even if it's only half of it making me go ugh, it's still ugh. Yeah. No. I will say though, you know how we always talk about how these like one-off villains, they all end up dying, but then they all come back because what's his face resurrected everybody? Not Blaze. Blaze is dead and just nobody ever does anything with him ever again.
Really? This is the last appearance of Blaze?
Really?
There is 2 appearances of Blaze and nobody gives a shit.
I do.
I didn't think I'd
so
ever. Yeah, I didn't think I'd
amazing.
ever.
Hold on,
Character.
Becca.
I was like, is this guy?
Can I just tell you, I wrote a screenplay and filmed a screenplay where in the movie the characters play a song called Blaze is Back, taken from this comic from 1987. Did you know that?
What?
Why would I know
do.
that?
Well, because it hasn't been released yet. But anyway, okay. With that,
Big Gary Blaze aficionados.
no, it's funny, completely unrelated. But anyway,
Dude, you could Google Blaze Marvel and it takes you forever to get to the page because it's just Johnny Blaze.
I was.
well,
Or you
one day,
misspelled Blade.
Blaze is back.
Blaze
Lots
is
of dialogue will be in here somewhere. Trust me. Okay, we want to thank Andrew Helmer for coming back. Andrew, thank you so much. We'll have you on again soon. In fact, I'm tempted to have you on if you're free for the big Hobgoblin reveal coming up in a few weeks. If you're free for that.
You know it. You know
Awesome.
it.
Yeah. So we definitely want to thank you. We want to thank Bex Luthor for joining us.
Yeah, okay.
Don't get too excited.
Welcome. Sorry, I was reading something about Blaze and then you called to me and I wasn't expecting it and now I'm panicking.
It's okay.
Is he in the runner game?
Ooh, doubt it. What was that Spider-Man runner game? I'll look it up.
Okay,
Let's
so
continue the outro.
for those listening, be sure to join us next week as we take another left turn and review some Spidey guest appearances in The Thing number 5 from 1983, which we missed the first time around. We're also going to review another Power Pack comic, Power Pack number 33, and we're going to review a very special one-shot appearance, Spider-Man versus Wolverine, which is going to be really exciting. And we're going to be joined by special guest Messiah Complex, aka Jeff McDonald, everyone's favorite cosplayer. So be sure to join us next week. And
Jeff's gonna be here next week.
Stop it, Becca. Anyway, you can take it from here, Josh.
I was gonna skip it too.
No way.
We also want to thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. It really helps when you leave us a review over on Apple Podcast, or you can drop us a line on Twitter at HCTSpidercast. Please let us know what you guys think about the issues we're talking about in the podcast itself. Let's keep that comics conversation going.
That's right. So until next week,